Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, the podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
Since 1895, they have been the premier monster hunter eradication service in the world. You are one of the new trainees who has recently graduated and are now entering into the lucrative career of professional monster hunting, where you can kill the forces of evil for fun and profit. Evil looms, cowboy up, kill it, get paid. Welcome to the exciting world of professional monster hunting.
Sound familiar to you guys? It didn't to me neither, but this is the story of Monster Hunter International RPG, a Savage Worlds edition, a new game on Kickstarter, and tonight we're lucky enough to have on Larry Correia, the mastermind and the author of Monster Hunter International, the New York Times best-selling novel, all the way from Moose Yard Mountain. I always get too confused. But thanks for joining us on Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf. We really appreciate it, Larry.
Hey, I'm glad to be here.
So let's back up and rewind a little bit. I imagine, because I've seen you posting about the role-playing game and whatnot, I imagine not just being an author, but sounds like you might be into role-playing as well and regular tabletop board gaming. Am I correct?
Oh yeah, I am a huge dork. Yeah, I've been gaming for a long time, ever since I was a kid. I have a good, reliable monthly role-playing game group that we try to get together once or twice a month. I've been with the same guys for about 7 years now. We play a lot of different systems. We're all huge Legend of the Five Rings fans. I've run a couple campaigns in that. I ran a 2-year campaign of that. That was fun. Right now we're playing 5th edition D&D. Before that we played Action Cthulhu. We played Iron Kingdoms, set in the War Machine universe. Just a bunch of different things, and it's a lot of fun. I'm a role-playing game guy, and then I do tabletop war games. I do Infinity and War Machine are the 2 war games I do. I like to paint minis and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm a huge Savage Worlds fan because Deadlands. I love Deadlands, and also that's what we're Action Cthulhu. We played that with the Savage Worlds rules. And so when it came time to do a new version of the Monster Hunter International role-playing game, Savage Worlds was kind of the go-to. And I actually know the system really well, so I can help with the rules for once.
Cool beans. So you say new one. Does that mean there's a previous role-playing game set on your books?
Yeah, clear back in 2012, we did one using the hero system, our champions, and it was fun. We did it. It was a great book. It was really popular. We had a very successful Kickstarter for that. But what happened in the intervening years, I had a lot of people complain because it's a good system, but it's a really super crunchy system. I don't know if you're familiar with it or if you ever played it, but it's a little on the, well, it's not a little, it's a lot on the crunchy side. So a lot of my fans weren't necessarily hardcore gamers, and they just wanted to get into it. And so the barrier to entry was kind of high. So when it came time to do a new version, I wanted to go with a rule set that was like a lot simpler and faster to learn, which is why we decided to go with Savage Worlds.
Oh, okay, so when you say crunchy, just harder to learn pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good system. You can do really anything, but it's really complicated too. The rule set for heroes is really dense. And a lot of rules, a lot of interactions. Combat's pretty complicated, and like I said, you can get really crunchy and do whatever you want. But so Savage Worlds, on the other hand, is pretty straightforward. Stats are real limited. I mean, the whole rule book is just a little skinny rule book, and so it's a lot quicker to learn. So I don't know. There's pros and cons just depending on what your group is into. But I just wanted to go with this one, something that was kind of just fast and fun, basically.
Cool. And you said this might be easier for people that haven't role-played before, or some of your fans to get into?
Yeah, like I run a lot of charity games at conventions and stuff. And one of the things I discovered over the years, like I would run games, all these different systems. And if you have people that were new to a system or new to role playing, some systems were a lot easier and instinctive for people to pick up really quick. And yeah, I found the Savage Worlds is a game that, like, if you give me a good, give me 10, 15 minutes to kind of explain it to a group of new people, and then they can jump right in and they're pretty solid after that. So it's like I said, low barrier to entry. So it's one of my favorite role playing game systems for that. Though, I mean, I love the crunchy stuff too. I mean, I'm a retired accountant, so I'm the guy in the group who will build Excel spreadsheets to automate character sheets and min max all my stats. So I can go pretty dorky.
Cool beans. Yeah. So, just a little bit of my background. My friends, we played. It was clear back 20 plus years ago when I was in high school. We played Middle Earth role playing. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but MERP people called it.
Yeah, never played that one.
Yeah, that's what I played, and then that was about it. As soon as I bought it and whatnot, they got out of it, and that's all I really played or whatnot. I really enjoyed it, but then I went on a hiatus, and now with the podcast or whatnot, me and my family, me and my kids are going to get back into role playing. We're going to start easy with Too Many Bones, which is a dice based role playing game by Chip Theory Games. It's got more of a it's just all dice based, not writing down or whatnot. I don't know if you've heard of that one, but it was on Kickstarter a while back ago.
No, I haven't seen that one.
And then we'll move into other stuff.
When I was in high school, the first games I ever played was D&D 2nd edition. So back in the day, I had to learn THACO, and I was the one guy at the table who could do math in my head. So anytime like anybody would do anything in combat, they would roll, and then they would look to me to see if they succeeded or not. So I started out as D&D 2nd edition, then I played a bunch of other stuff like Top Secret. I love the different. That was a fun one, and then I love the different settings back in the day. Dragonlance, Forgotten Realms, what else? Spelljammer, Dark Sun. Loved all those. And then I got into college, and after that, I took about 10 years off because I went and had a career and a family, and I was just too busy to do game stuff. And then it was about 10 years ago. I was a new writer, and I was at a book signing. And there's a lot of science fiction and fantasy authors are pretty hardcore nerds. And there was this other author there, Dan Wells, and he was looking. A guy had just left his game group, and he looked at me. He goes, "Hey, Larry, you ever play role playing games?" And I was like, "Yeah, I played." And he goes, "How do you feel about Magical Samurai?" And I was like, "Ooh," and I was in. And so that's how I got back into it, and then that's been really a lot of fun, actually. And then I do it with my kids too. My kids are all gamers. We've done some family campaigns, and then certain times of year, it's like a tradition that different members of the family put on different games. It's always fun.
Cool beans. And how old are your kids, if you don't mind us asking?
I've got 3 in high school and a kindergartner. So I have 3 teenagers, and the teenagers are all pretty hardcore gamers. They've all been gaming since they were 10 years old or so, and they're pretty hardcore. And then the young one, he's just happy to be there. We give him a character sheet and a mini, and he calls it good.
There you go, cool.
He rolls some dice every now and then. We all cheer for him.
Yeah, because me and my family are getting back into it. They range from 14 to 4. I'm not sure how much the 4-year-old will be able to play. She'll probably be in the same situation, but on a little bit less than the kindergartner or whatnot. But so, for what kind of advice would you give to us as we're getting back into it, or to anybody who's new in role playing?
Oh man, it's going to depend on your kids a lot. It's going to depend on the nature of your kids. For me, it was really a good experience because I got to know my children a lot better. Because just think about when you game with people and you get this glimpse into their psychology. So in that respect, I learned a lot about my kids, and so it was actually a lot of fun. Now playing with your kids, you got to be, as a dad, you got to be patient. They will drive you nuts because kids do that anyway, and so you do have that element there. I don't know, it's pretty cool. And then all my kids are kind of artists and writers. They're all artsy and into that kind of creative stuff. So it's a fun creative outlet too, and they can kind of glom onto it. And I've actually stolen some fictional characters that I've written in different books have come from my kids' role-playing game characters. So that's kind of fun.
Oh boy, like who?
Have you read the Straight Outta Tombstone? I did a short story for the founder of Monster Hunter International back in the 1890s, Bubba Shackelford. Did you read those?
I don't think so. I mainly the first. I don't even know how many are in the series now, but I know the first 3 or 4 books of Monster Hunter. Those are the main ones I've read.
Okay, so this one's there's a couple short stories so far. I don't have a novel in this year yet, but so when I put together the crew of monster hunters in like the year 1897, they're out west, old west, doing monster hunting. The various characters in the group were based on my kids' role playing game characters from a Deadlands game we ran. Um, and so I've got Hannah Stone, the sharpshooter who got fired from Buffalo Bill Cody's Wild West show for shooting somebody on accident. It was based on my daughter's character. There's another guy named Skirmish McKillington, who is this bare knuckle boxer, Irish immigrant who was in New York. And then my other daughter's character has not shown up yet, but she will. So yeah, no, it's kind of fun. I steal stuff from games all the time. It's really handy as a writer.
Cool, Bean. So does that make it a little bit easier as opposed to, or yeah, does that make it easier when you don't have to come up with all the characters yourself? I guess.
Yeah, you still gotta tweak them, and it's kind of fun. So like my current game night group, it's a bunch of guys, and most of us are professional writers. We got a couple guys that aren't, but most of our guys are novelists or have written novels or aspiring novelists. And so every now and then, like somebody will come up with something really cool, and then we'll kind of like a really good line or something, and then we'll kind of like look at each other to see who's gonna claim it first.
Who's gonna grab it?
Yeah. So I did this epic fantasy. I'm doing this epic fantasy series right now. First one's called Son of the Black Sword. Came out a couple years ago, and I got this one character, this warrior character. Jagdish, and he's like this super popular character. My fans love him. But he came from Pat Tracy, who's in my role playing game group. He was just an NPC that Pat made up for a little bit of game fiction for his character to interact with. And this guy was just so gosh darn awesome that he became a reoccurring NPC. I was GMing, so I got to play him all the time. And then I stuck him in the book. And he was kind of awesome. I mean, I had to tweak him a little bit to fit a different universe, but it's fun. I love doing stuff like that. And sometimes you can even switch universes. I got this one thriller series called Dead Six that I wrote with Mike Coopery, and main character is this thief. He's a professional thief. It's modern times, modern world, but his personality is basically stolen from a rogue in a D&D campaign from college. And in fact, yeah, he's got he has a bunch of different aliases, and one of his aliases that he goes by was the role-playing game character's name. So, yeah, I steal them all the time.
Cool. So is Dan Wells still in your group? I know he went over to Germany or somewhere a while back ago.
Yeah, so when Dan moved, we lost him from the group, and then since he's been back, we haven't really played with him just because he's a busy dude. He's got like 7 kids now, and so yeah. So Dan has his own. Plus, we don't live by each other anymore. I moved up north, so we got some crossover. I got some of the same guys we used to play with. Steve Diamond's in my group, who's a really good horror novelist, and then I mentioned Pat. Played with Brad Torgerson for a lot of years. Great guy, great writer. Paul Janess was in our group for a few years. Great guy, great writer. I got one guy who he probably doesn't want me to say his name on the radio, but he's not a writer, but he's a bomb squad guy. That's what he does for a living, is defuses bombs. So it's a little cooler than all the nerdy writers. And then we got Alan Barr in the group, who's actually the owner of Gallant Knight Games. And Alan's a game designer. He does a lot of writing, but it's game writing. And that's actually who I hired to do this Kickstarter and the Savage Worlds Monster Hunter. And so the company that's actually making this is a guy that I game with, and so we kind of cheat and do our own play testing all the time, if that makes sense.
There you go. So
it's a handy way to do it.
During play testing, was there ever anything that just wouldn't work that you had to throw out?
Not yet. We've bounced a lot of different ideas off people. I don't want to say too much, but we added a couple things that are kind of spoilery yet because we haven't revealed them in the Kickstarter. But we added a couple different things for some different, mythological beings in the Monster Hunter universe, and we put in some stats to make them playable characters. but it's going to take GM discretion on whether they're going to allow these or not, because they're really stupid powerful. And I mean, they're faithful to the world and they're faithful to the books, but they are they are not a normal PC at this point. So I'm a little hesitant. But we're going to put those in there. We'll just, we're going to put a note. This is be GM discretion if you want to allow one of your players to play this, because this dude can break the game. But that's kind of how the books work too. So I'm assuming most people will play normal things. We had to do some special rules for the way some of the mythological races work in Monster Hunter. Like the rules for orcs are kind of fun, because the way the orcs are set up is they've got one skill that they're born this way. They're the one skill they're supremely good at, and one skill that is awful, that they will always fail. So we've kind of set that up so you pick a skill at character creation, and then you pick a corresponding skill that you just absolutely suck at. And then we have a little note in there for GMs. If somebody thinks they're clever and they pick, their primary skill is fighting, and their negative skill is, boating, make sure you give them an adventure on water. Make them pay for those choices.
There you go, cool. So you get to create your own character. You don't pick somebody from one of the books.
Yeah, we'll stat up all the main characters as NPCs. Which is actually kind of fun. I like doing that anyway. But it's all the main characters from the series will be in the books as NPCs available, and their stat blocks will be in there. So if somebody did want to play with the main characters, they totally could. They will be available. We would just show them at different points of their lives, whatever their power level is. We were actually doing that for some of the historical characters too. Of the stretch goals we've unlocked so far, we've added an addition for the 1890s Monster Hunters, the Bubba Shackelford and crew, and all their stats. And then we're adding the 1980s because we had some spin-off books, the Monster Hunter Memoirs, written by me and John Ringo. And so we're doing the characters and some of the monsters and situations from the 1980s in there too. So, and depending on how the Kickstarter goes, we might unlock some more time eras and different characters that we can stat out and stick in there. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of books to choose from, so we get to have a lot of really cool stuff that we can put in here.
Yeah, how many Monster Hunter International books are there currently?
There's 6 in the main series, 3 spin-offs, an anthology of short stories from a bunch of different authors, and the next one is the 7th one is mostly done. So all the stuff from it will be winding up in the role-playing game. 11, basically, right now.
So I want to say, my wife, if I recall correctly, she was following you before you. Did you initially self-publish the Monster Hunter International, if I recall correctly?
I did, yeah. So way back in 2008, I started. I wrote Monster Hunter. I got rejected everywhere. Like everybody in publishing rejected me. So I decided to self-publish, and it actually did really, really good. And that was back before ebooks. Ebooks were brand new. They were a weird thing back then. And so this was done all with, $25 print-on-demand paperbacks. And it was a big hit. People liked it. And then I came to the attention of Bayan Books, and they bought it from me. And I've been with those guys ever since. So I think next year I will have 20 books out.
Oh, wow.
Across several different series.
Cool. I know I have, I forgot when we were talking about it, and then you brought it up. I know I started the Son of the Black Sword. Is that what that one's called?
Yeah.
I know I started that in audiobook, but then my iPod got destroyed, so I got to get back into that. I really liked it.
Oh, man, the audiobook reader on that is Tim Gerard Reynolds. He is awesome. That guy is amazing. He's a good reader.
Cool beans. And I want to say the other ones are available across all the platforms as well. I think I got one of them on an audiobook. I don't remember, though.
Yeah, I do. I think everything I have is in audio. And I love Audible. I have a good relationship with those guys. They've really taken good care of me. They've hooked me up with just awesome narrators. I got Bronson Pinchot has done 2 different series for me now. And he's a really successful actor and a really great guy and just a consummate professional. Guy's great to work with. Oliver Wyman does all the Monster Hunter series. He's great. I love Ollie. He's super talented, and that series has gotten better and better as it's gone because Ollie's gotten so into it. And then I had Ray Porter. I did a couple novels for War Machine. the game. And then Ray Porter recorded those, did a fantastic job. And then I got Adam Baldwin, actually, from Firefly, and Chuck, The Last Ship. So a pretty famous dude. And he's my narrator for the Tom Stranger Interdimensional Insurance Agent series, which is a comedy.
Yeah, I love that. There's just a one book though, isn't there currently, or is there more now?
Yeah, the number 2 is done, and Adam's recorded it, and so I think they're going to be releasing it in time for Christmas. I have not gotten a date from Audible yet, though, but I'm really, really excited on this one. It is the goofiest dang thing I have ever written, so I'm really excited for you guys to see it.
Yeah, I can't wait. And for those people that don't do audio, like my wife, she hasn't been able to enjoy the Tom Stranger yet, but because she has a hard time with audio. Will that be something you'll be bringing to like ebook or papers at some point?
Yeah. So those are audio exclusive. I have a deal with Audible, so I do those as an exclusive for them for a while. Then after that period of time is up, they'll come out. So Tom Stranger, number 1, will be included in a book I got coming out next year called Target Rich Environment, and it's just a collection of my short stories. Because Tom Stranger is actually a novella, so it's not a full-size novel. It's a short. So it's going to be in there too. And then number 2 will be out the year after that. I'll put that out.
Cool, Bean. So going back to the role-playing game, because that's mainly what we were going to talk about. Going back to that a little bit. I know there's stuff you're going to reveal and whatnot, but if me and you and other people were to sit down and play it, how would the play look? Well, this actually is a podcast. How would play sound? Like, how would it go down?
Okay. Well, it's going to depend on your GM a lot. Now, I like to go real narrative. I like big storytelling. I like getting a lot of character information and weaving in subplots. Let me give you an example. So I ran a campaign, or not a campaign. I ran a game at HonorCon recently in North Carolina, and it was a kind of a play test game for this system. And I had 6 people, and it was for charity, so they'd all donated for charity to be there. So we set up the situation, the story. So these 6 people, I had pre-generated characters for them to grab, just stat blocks, and then they made up their names and their backstory. So we got everybody's names and backstory, and we started out that they were all trainees that had just barely graduated in Cazador, Alabama, from the MHI training program. And most people were off busy at work, but this call came in for an odd job. It was just a real basic security job out in Missoula, Montana. And I made sure I picked a rural area that none of the players had ever been to in real life. That way I could screw up the geography and none of them would get mad at me. Because I've been there, but they hadn't, so it worked. So what it was is I got this call, and it was just supposed to be this easy little security job for an excavation company because it had like this one little minor monster encounter. So that explained why we had 6 newbies, So then they flew out there, and they start getting this information once they land that there might be something more to this, and it's actually not really a normal excavation, but it's actually an archaeological excavation. And so they're heading out there, and I make it so they have to stop. They have some rental cars, and they have to stop for gas at the gas station. And so I just kind of did it randomly with a D6 to assign where everybody was. And we decided this one character who was playing an orc, he really had to use the bathroom. That's why they had to stop. So the orc's in the bathroom. 2 people, I think 2 or 3 people are buying snacks inside the convenience store, getting directions from the poor lady that works there. And one person was cleaning the windshield, bugs off the windshield, and somebody else was putting gas. And then I had this van pull up, and through a series of unfortunate events, they discovered that it's a bunch of cultists from this death cult called the Church of the Temporary Mortal Condition, which has appeared repeatedly in the books. And so I have a bunch of death cultists at the gas station buying snacks at the same time as the monster hunters, and they're both heading to the same place. And what happens is there's one of the bad guys is in the bathroom, and he takes a phone call, and the orc is in the next stall, and he overhears the conversation between this bad guy and his boss, who is a major reoccurring villain in the series, over the phone. So the orc decides that he's going to go kick in the stall and stab the guy in the head, which set off a giant melee. And so then what happens is all these characters, they realize, oh wow, we left the orc unattended, when they hear someone screaming bloody murder from the bathroom. And then all the bad guys go for their guns, and it just all hell breaks loose, and there's this giant gunfight at the gas station. And then it turns out they've got this monster, this horrible zombie automaton made out of like parts of various farm animals in the back of their van, and it falls out and it goes on a rampage. Okay, so this is our opening sequence, right? And yeah, so I had a lot of fun with that. And that was just the first part of the adventure, and they had to take care of all that, and question the survivors, deal with the repercussions, try to get the witnesses not to talk about monsters, and yeah, so it was a lot of fun. And then we went on to the actual rest of the series. But that just gives you an idea how it plays out. It can be a lot of fun. It can be serious and dark, or it can be really irreverent and goofy. Your players will always surprise you. That's one of the things I love about GMing. So yeah, that's basically how it goes. Just stuff like that. Lots of killing monsters for fun and profit, and using the loot to purchase cooler stuff to kill more monsters.
Cool beans. And I forgot to ask about. There was a couple of different characters I was going to ask about from your books. I don't remember if they're orgs or what they are. But there's some that I would consider trailer trash, and then there's some that are gangsters.
Yeah. Okay. So the trailer trash is the elves. The way I set it up in the Monster Hunter universe is the elves are basically the glory days are behind the elven people, and so the ones that we know in the series live in the enchanted forest trailer park in Corinth, Mississippi, and where the Queen of the Elves rules from her double wide. And so they're very much redneck elves in this series, and yes, you can play an elf, and then the gangsters were the gnomes. And the reason I set it up that way is because if you look at actual folklore, gnomes are not like these cute, lovable little guys like they are in American stuff. In Scandinavian folklore, gnomes were like gritty villains. Like they, and I got the idea because I was reading this story one time about this farm where they always used to have to leave butter and porridge out for their gnome. And if they didn't leave butter and porridge out for the gnome, then the gnome would murder all their cows. And so one night they left out butter and porridge, but it's a different person leaving it out. And so they put the butter under the porridge instead of on top. So the gnome saw this and thought he didn't have butter. So he got angry and murdered a cow. And I'm reading this. This is a traditional folk tale, like several hundred years old or 1,000 years old. And I read this and I'm like, wow, gnomes are scummy. That is like a criminal protection racket. Like, hey, nice farm you got here. It'd be real shame if something bad was to happen to it. So what I did is the gnomes that have come to America have adopted gangster culture. So yeah, the gnomes were really popular in the series, and but not really good guys though. So I don't think I have them as playable characters. That would be a little hard.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. The gnomes and the elves. I really like those in your book.
Yeah, and then the orcs tend to go very heavy metal. I don't want to spoil too much for those that haven't read the series, but I like to have different oddball takes on traditional fairy tale and folklore stuff, and so I get to have a lot of fun with that.
Cool beans. And and I forget, the main character in the first book, the accountant, his name was Mike, is that correct?
Owen.
Yeah, Owen. Well, so you said you're an accountant as well. Is that where is he kind of modeled after you?
Yeah, well, no, he's not really modeled after me, but the accounting thing was, because I needed a job that I was familiar with, and it enabled me not to have to do any research, and all on that one, and also that it's stereotypically boring. And I needed the main character to have a job that most people consider boring, is what it was. That said, it's actually not boring. Accounting's kind of fun. It's like doing puzzles. But I'm retired. I haven't done that for many years. I've just been a full-time writer for about 5 or 6 years now. But yeah, I loved accounting. So it was kind of fun to have an accountant turn out to be like a total badass, super duper warrior against the forces of evil.
Yeah, I thought that was great. And then you're into shooting a lot as well, as from some of your posts and stuff I see.
Oh yeah. So I have a background. One of the jobs I had over my career, I was in the gun business for quite a while and did different stuff there. And I was a firearms instructor. I taught a lot of classes. I taught concealed carry classes. I taught basic pistol classes. I did that off and on for many years on the side and just absolutely loved it. shot a lot of competition and stuff. So yeah, that's still one of my hobbies. And yeah, so I get pretty gun nutty in the books, which is a lot of fun to write. So yeah, I do thoroughly enjoy that stuff.
Cool. Now, per se, somebody's fallen asleep. It wouldn't be because of you or your game or any of your novels or whatnot, but they probably getting tired of my podcast and whatnot because I release so many. But now they're suddenly awake, so they get jolted awake so they don't hit that oncoming traffic. Why should they take a chance on Monster Hunter International's RPG Savage Worlds Edition? Especially with all the other RPGs out there on the Kickstarter and stuff.
Sure. I would say that first off, if you are a fan of my books, then it's a perfect fit. And even if you're not a gamer, a lot of those guys are buying it just for the artwork and the fluffy goodness, world building information. If you are already a gamer, Savage Worlds is an awesome system. If you're looking for just a modern day action adventure, supernatural setting, this works really great for that. And if you are not a fan of Savage Worlds and you haven't played Savage Worlds, I really recommend checking it out because it's got a ton of different settings you can play in, and this is a good one for that. So we got a really good team. We got a really good creative team. Alan Barr is the lead designer. I've mentioned him already. But we got Steve Long is doing most of the fluffy writing. Steve's amazing. And we brought in Sean Carmen to do additional adventures. And if you know Steve or Sean, those guys are RPG legends. So this is going to be awesome.
Cool beans. And I know you guys don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, but depending on if somebody goes ahead and backs it, when should they anticipate getting their books so they can start this setting?
Oh, geez. It's on there. Off the top of my head, though, I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah, it looks like it says August, I think. August of 18, is that right?
August? Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, you got me there. I'd have to go look. Now the guy doing this has actually got a really good track record of successfully filling Kickstarters on time. Gallant Knight's done really good, and he's done Kickstarters for other people. And the only time he's had a late Kickstarter, it's not been on him. It's been on the creator that he's been working for different universes. So Alan's got a really good track record of delivering on time. So we should be able to hit that August.
Okay, cool beans. Now, I don't know if you've listened to any of our podcasts or not, Larry, but the next section is AAA. It's not AAA, but it's this is seeing how this is a podcast about games and whatnot. It is actually Adventures in Application Acquisition, where we talk about an application, be it for a cell phone, tablet, computer or video game or whatnot. It doesn't have to be related to role-playing games or gaming. It can be anything. We had a while back ago, we had somebody talk about an app where you can take a picture of anything and it'll tell you whether it's a hot dog or not. Is there any applications that you use a lot of?
I got a gaming app that I love, actually. I mean, ironic enough, is gaming, and I use this on my iPod or on my phone and my iPad. Or actually, on my iPad, I use it. It's called Mayanet because I play Infinity, the war game, and so it's all the Infinity stats ready to roll at your fingertips, and you can build armies for fun. So a lot of times, like if I'm flying on an airplane or whatever, and I'm bored, I'll make up army lists to fight with, and memorize game stats. So there you go, Mayanet for Infinity, the war game. Totally unrelated to everything I've talked about tonight, but that's an app that actually is gaming related that I get a whole lot of use out of.
Well, there you go. If you own the rights to, you called it Mayanet. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I have no relation to them. I don't know those guys, but I play the game a lot, and it's awesome.
Okay, so if you own the rights to it, what would be one thing you would do to make the application better?
Oh, geez. You know, it'd be really cool if it had links to the artwork. That way you could just get a visual reference of when you're building lists and trying to remember what all the different things are named. That'd be handy. Probably a lot of work.
Cool. So we're trying to make this a green podcast. So if the listeners or the creators are ever listening, you heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief, what you can do to make the app a little bit better. Links to the art so people can see what they're looking at or whatnot, see what they're talking about on the application.
Yeah, I have no idea. That sounds like it's probably a lot of work for guys that volunteer and do it for free.
Cool beans. Now, minus coming there to Yard Moose Mountain to stalk you in person, how would people go about finding out about you or any of your projects that you have going on, Larry?
I have a blog. It's monsterhunternation.com. or you just Google search my name, Larry Correia. Or we have a really active Facebook community too. So if you find me on Facebook, we have the Monster Hunter International Hunters Unite Facebook page. Really super active community. Great folks on there. And if you ever need anything, there's a lot of people that are really helpful.
Cool. And there's a Facebook group too, or is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, that's the Facebook group. It's the Monster Hunter International Hunters Unite on Facebook. Great page. Or just find me on my blog and ask, monsterhunternation.com.
Cool. And we'll make sure we leave all that in the link, especially the Kickstarter, so they don't have to type everything in, so they can just click on it. But yeah, we wanted to thank you for coming on Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf with us. We really appreciate it, Larry, taking time out of your day and whatnot.
Well, cool. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Thank you, Larry. Okay, so really quickly, for Kickstarter Corner this week, we've got a couple great games to tell you about. First off, we've got Historical Conquest, an epic card game to build a civilization and defend it. Use people of the past to dominate the world or bring world peace. You decide. And it looks like they're going to go ahead and relaunch on this one. Just go ahead, and they're really far from their goal. They have 8 days to go. Go ahead and back them. They won't charge your card unless they do fund. And that way you can get all the updates. So that's a good way to go about doing it. And then also, we've got the Convergence. A comic-themed card game. A super-powered comic-themed battle card game about choosing a team and an objective to protect the city you love or hate. Check this out on the Kickstarters. Hopefully they got it. By the time you hear this recording, they will have about 10 or so days left. Hopefully they'll make it. They're about $10,000 from their goal. Check them out on the Kickstarters, and hopefully you'll back it. It's by Johnny Hinkle. And yeah, it looks like a really fun game. I can't wait to play it. Hopefully I'll be able to get the prototype. Another reviewer, Joshua Burrell, was going to send it to me, hopefully. And then we've also got Space Corridor Battle Terrain. They're really far from their goal, about $40,000. So I don't know if they'll make it, but you can go ahead and they're bringing you an all-plastic Space Corridor terrain set, ideal for a vast range of sci-fi 28mm war games. This is by Universal Plastics. Check them out on the Kickstarters. They have through the 10th of December, so we'll see if that goes through. Then we've got War Room, a Larry Harris game, and this is from the renowned Axis and Allies designer Larry Harris and Nightingale Games present War Room. It's a deluxe global World War II board game for 2 to 6 players. They have 19 days to go through the 8th of December, and we'll go ahead and make sure you're able to listen to me talk to Larry and his partner and a little bit about War Room. It looks like a fun, amazing game. They're almost 200% funded, so that's pretty cool. And they've got through the 8th of December. Then we've also got Side Effects. Use drugs and therapy to treat your psyche. In this beautifully illustrated card game for 2 to 8 players going through the 7th of December. They're also funded. And then we've got Random Coping Chess. And they add an element of storytelling and revere to chess, making it accessible and engaging in new ways. They are overfunded, and they've got through the 6th of December. We'll get that interview to you soon as well. And then also Cabinet Game Table from Carolina Game Tables, a high quality, solidly built cabinet to hold your games with a reversible table for gaming, dining, crafts, and more. They're not funded. They have 8 days to go. They go through the 27th of November, and make sure you go ahead and back this, because even if they don't fund and you back it at a $2 level and they have over 500 shares of this product, you will get a new PDF about dice and what's called Dinner and Dice. You'll get that PDF, and this is from some renowned people in the industry and their favorite recipes. You'll get a free PDF of that, and also you can win one from us. We have yet to have an entry, so check out our interview we had with Jody and Clint Black, who were working over at Pinnacle Games, the creators of Savage Worlds. So, yeah, that's what we have on Kickstarter Corner this week. Have a great day.
Gamer Leaf levels up Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.